Welcome, everyone, to the Mental Health for the Holidays virtual series. My name's Nathan, and we are All of Us Wisconsin.
Hello, my name is Taquanda. I'm from AOU at the Medical College of Wisconsin.
Hi, I'm Samantha. I'm from All of Us at University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Hello, my name is Luke, and I am with All of Us at Gunderson and Lacrosse.
And I'm from Marshfield Clinic in Marshfield, Wisconsin, and we are all a part of All of Us Wisconsin. We hope this virtual series provides tools and awareness to help you enjoy the holidays to the fullest. The All of Us research program is dedicated to understanding mental health as an integral part of health. And please go to joinallofus.org to learn more about the All of Us research program. And stay tuned as we expand on different topics of mental health following this short video.
What lies inside all of us is more than data, it's life. What's flowing through America's veins is its diversity. And it's those very differences that will lead to answers for generations to come.
So, Kate, Peterson, thank you so much for joining us here with the Mental Health for the Holidays virtual series.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat with you a little bit.
Yeah, so I've already given a little bit of a bio on you and mostly just the certifications, accomplishments, things like that. Mm-hmm. So I would love it if you could just give your own little intro and more in general, what you do.
Yeah. So obviously I'm Kate. I'm a registered dietitian and a virtual nutrition coach. So I have my own business, Kate Peterson Nutrition. I see clients completely virtually in both a one-on-one or a group coaching capacity. And my main focus with clients is really helping you get to your best, healthiest relationship with food, whatever that means for you. So I work with a lot of people on, incorporating all foods in your diet and really letting go of food guilt or food shame that comes around eating certain foods, and really helping you recognize that there's space for all of that in your diet. I help a lot of clients work through the mental piece of food. So why you overeat, why you have certain cravings, and really understanding and getting to the root cause of really that why behind what you're eating and what you're doing to help you make really good informed decisions. And then the other piece of that is I'm very passionate about getting people into the kitchen and really cooking. So that is another branch that will be coming soon, but I do work a lot with clients one-on-one on topics of meal prep and really understanding what is in your food and being able to prepare that for yourself. So kind of the two things that I work on there.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. Obviously we've got you on here for a reason, because I think all of this is going to be really relevant for people and help them, because you just brought up really important stuff right off the top. There's that guilt and shame that people experience, and for sure that's something that's going around during the holidays. So what do you think is the biggest thing? Maybe it's that, or maybe it's something else, but what's the biggest thing that people struggle with over the holidays?
Yeah, I really think it is that guilt and shame. This is one of the biggest times of year that I hear that the most from people, is that there is just a lot of regret around a lot of food choices, or people just treat the holidays as well, you know what, I'm just going to eat whatever I want and I'll deal with the repercussions later. But they feel all of this guilt and shame from eating these foods that they really like, that are tied to a lot of emotions and traditions and, just happiness around the holidays. So I think that struggle of letting go of that food guilt is huge, and being able to actually enjoy the holidays versus stressing about the food that you're eating and what comes after the holidays, AKA the New Year's diet. That's a big one. Another one that I hear a lot of, though, too, is the struggle with overeating. You are oftentimes surrounded with food that you only get once or twice a year, or that maybe you don't allow yourself to have in the house, or you don't have in the house typically. Or you're eating these, family meals, holiday parties, all of that. And there is a lot of opportunity for overeating, which then can also lead to that guilt and shame and just feeling generally kind of So those are really the two big things that I hear that people struggle with.
Yeah, sure. And around the holidays, the food is just kind of always there. So typically you're always busy doing stuff, and you're at work or whatever, and so the opportunity to eat isn't consistently present. So then when it is, it's so much easier to overeat. I can absolutely raise my hand and say that that's something that I do and struggle with. So I don't want you to give away all of your best tips and tricks here, but what are some strategies that are going to help people avoid overeating and try and work through that shame and guilt that they're experiencing in the holidays?
Definitely. So there are two big ones that I work on with these topics. Number one would be letting go of labeling food, which means letting go of labeling foods as good or bad or healthy or unhealthy. As soon as you label foods as bad or unhealthy, and as soon as you make those foods off limits, it almost puts those foods up on a pedestal. In our mind, we see them as, okay, I want that more. I compare it to when you're underwater and you're swimming underwater. Like, what is the one thing that you can't stop thinking about when you're underwater? Air. Right? Yeah, right. Yeah. You want that air. So it's the same thing as food. As soon as you tell yourself something is bad or unhealthy, and I shouldn't be eating this, or I should feel bad when I'm eating this, our brain works in funny ways, and that is all that we want. And we start to feel these obsessions around food. And so I see that a lot with holiday treats and things that you don't normally have in the house. So number one would be removing those labels and just trying to neutralize food. Food is food. It is not good or bad. It does not have morals. It has a purpose and a place in our diet. And, really kind of asking yourself, like, why am I, again, back to that why am I eating? Does this even taste good? And really getting down to that level of like that awareness of why you're eating. The second thing that I work on with those things with clients and people is listening to your hunger cues. So I use something called a hunger scale. It's not unique to me. There's a lot of dietitians, food freedom dietitians, or intuitive eating dietitians, which is what I would categorize myself as, all three of those, that use something called a hunger scale or a hunger and fullness scale. And basically this quantifies your hunger and fullness. So it's really easy to say, like, I'm really hungry, I'm starving, or I'm full, or I'm stuffed. But what exactly does that look like on a scale from 1 to 10? And being able to place that hunger or fullness and stop or keep eating based on where you are. So using this hunger scale, I kind of set a sweet spot with my clients that I try to help keep you in. And using this hunger scale, we're able to work on things like slowing down, actually tasting your food, paying attention to, am I getting full? Am I satisfied? Should I stop eating before I hit that point of needing to unbutton the pants and or put on the sweatpants and go, lay on the couch for the next 7 hours? But really identifying like where you are on that scale and taking action and ownership for that hunger and fullness. So that is a huge strategy. And honestly, one of my favorite things to use is that hunger scale.
Yeah. And this is, I imagine, not the easiest thing for people to start incorporating into their lives. So do you feel like there's some pushback about certain, the hunger scale or, not labeling food good or bad? What are your thoughts there?
I've never really felt a lot or heard a lot of pushback. Usually as soon as I'm like, are you labeling food? People are like, yes, I'm labeling food. Or yes, I eat past fullness. Nobody wants to feel bad about the food that they're eating, and nobody wants to be uncomfortably full. So I found that these strategies, either using the hunger and fullness scale or, removing food labels and really working through that, those are really high return on investment things. Like they are pretty simple when you think about it. Like, I'm just removing food labels, or I'm just paying attention to my hunger cues, right? But the benefits that you get from those are immediate. And these are some of the first things that I work on with clients, and they see huge changes just from really slowing down and paying attention.
Sure. Like you mentioned, the intuitive or mindful eating is a very important strategy. Really just living mindfully and intuitively, if you can call it, or maybe intentionally is the better word, is so important to figuring out how to be your best happy self. So I'm right with you on that.
Yeah, I'm a big believer that if you are slowing down, you're paying attention, and you're listening to what your body is telling you, you have all the tools inside of you to do all of this. But I'm a big believer that if you're slowing down and you're paying attention, you will never struggle with overeating, we all overeat. I overeat, and this is my world, but I should say you minimize your times that you overeat, you minimize the times that you are feeling guilty about certain foods. And it really is just an overall better experience when it comes to food at mealtime.
Right. It's a simplification of the process in your habit. It doesn't make it necessarily easy. You can still make the decision and struggle with the willpower to overeat. But if you clear up some of that stuff and make it a little bit more obvious when you should and shouldn't continue eating, then I could see that being really helpful.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's one of my favorite things to do with clients or people. Well, I just shared my secrets with you, so you can try it too.
Oh, perfect. I will probably have to do that next week with, all the holidays. So what are some other questions that you get a lot from your clients?
So I would say definitely a big one kind of along those same lines is like, how the heck do I even be a more mindful eater? How do I slow down? Especially when you are surrounded with like a lot of food that you like. I hear a lot like, I really like this food, I don't want to stop eating. One thing that you can do is remove distractions from meal times. So when you're eating, put the cell phone away, turn the TV off, like really sit down at a table and just spend your time eating, really paying attention to that food that's in front of you. Another thing that can be really helpful is setting your fork down, your spoon down, your pizza down, whatever it is in between bites, and not picking that up for another bite until that current bite is totally chewed and swallowed. This just very intentionally slows you down. So that's a really good way to start practicing mindful eating. Another question that I get a lot, this one is probably no surprise to you, is should I be eating carbs? Are carbs bad? This is definitely a hot topic right now with keto being so popular. My response is always carbs are so wildly important in our diet. When we look at our overall intake of food, I like to see about half of my diet, your diet, my client's diet coming from carbohydrates, whether that's whole grains, dairy, fruits, certain vegetables. Our body naturally wants to burn carbohydrates. It's what it burns easiest, cleanest, best. And it takes a lot of energy to pump your heart, to, fire your brain, to work out, to take care of your kids, all of that. We need those carbs. So yes, you should be eating carbs. Should you be eating, carbs all day, every day? No, life is about balance, right? And one of the best things that you can do when you are eating carbs, especially in the holidays, thinking about some of our more carb heavy dishes that we like with mashed potatoes and rolls and that kind of thing coming up, is finding that balance in your plate. So balancing those carbs out with things like fruits and veggies and good sources of protein. And then whenever possible, choosing really good whole real food sources of carbs. So whole grains, things like brown rice, whole wheat bread, whole wheat pasta, quinoa, starchy vegetables. So like our potatoes, sweet potatoes, squash, those kind of things. Fruits, we get really good carb sources from fruit or dairy, if you like dairy. So lower fat versions of dairy is a really good place to get really solid carbs in your diet as well. So yeah, the carb question is definitely a hot topic.
And I'm sure that the same thing comes up around the topic of fat as well, right? There are carbs, there's protein, there's fat, there's all these macronutrients, and they're all important. And like you mentioned, it's finding the right balance that's going to make you the happiest and healthiest version of you, instead of feeling that all the guilt and shame and overeating.
Yeah, exactly. And, on that same topic, fat is a question that I get all the time. And I can't tell you how many times people have asked me, does fat make me fat? No, fat does not make you fat. Fat is incredibly important, like you just mentioned, in our diet. Fat is very satisfying to us. We like the way fat tastes on our tongue. We like the way fat makes us feel. And incorporating fats in your diet is actually really important for meal satisfaction. But when we're looking at fats in our diet, changing from maybe the not so great fats, what we would call the saturated or unhealthy fats, that would be like the butter, the high fat dairy, red meat, that kind of thing. And whenever possible, swapping to more of those unsaturated or healthy fats. So avocado, olive oil, nuts and seeds, like the fat that we find in fatty fish, like salmon or tuna. Those are really great swaps to get those very, very, very healthy fats in our diet. So yeah.
Yeah, fats are good and carbs
They
are good.
are. Carbs are
protein
good
is also
too.
good.
Yes. And protein is good. They're all good.
All right. So we've heard this food freedom thing come up a few times. I would love to hear more about how that's involved and what that looks like, and how that can help people over the holidays as well.
Yeah. So food freedom is really this idea that you are free around food. Duh, Kate. Yes, that is very obvious, right? No, food freedom really is this idea that you are making decisions about your food based fully on what you want, what feels good to you, what makes you feel your best. That is a very individual, unique thing to all of us. We get very caught up in diet culture, whether you realize it or not. Diet culture and diets tell us a lot about how to eat, what to eat, how much to eat, all of that. And even if you've never been on a diet, I can almost guarantee that diet culture has creeped into your life in some way. So food freedom is really kind of, ignoring all of that noise about, well, so-and-so told me to eat this way, or this diet told me to eat this way, or this is bad, this is good, kind of getting rid of all of that noise and listening to what makes me feel good. How much food do I need? When do I need to eat? Because this is what my body is telling me, and really making those food decisions based on what makes you feel your best. So over the holidays, I mean, this is important any time of year, but over the holidays, when we have a lot of foods that we don't normally have around us, kind of asking yourself, like, am I eating this food because it's here, because I feel like I'm never going to get it again until, next holiday season? Or am I eating this because I really, truly enjoy the taste of this? And I really love how it makes me feel. And it brings back all these memories of my grandma and cooking in the kitchen, things like that. So really asking yourself, like, why am I eating this? Am I eating this because I like it? Or am I eating it because other outside factors are telling me that I should be eating it? I think that's really the biggest thing with food freedom in the holidays.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that sounds like a really important distinction. And again, it's not easy still in that moment, but once that distinction is a little bit more clear, then either maybe you have some stuff that you need to unpack and figure out why that's pushing you to eat those foods, or
Definitely.
you realize that maybe it is worth it and it's okay, and you can enjoy a slice of pie or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
That's going to fit and make you feel good about it.
Yep, that is so true. And another thing that I hear a lot back to kind of the common questions that I get in related to food freedom is, what are some healthy recipe swaps that I can do? There is nothing wrong with trying to, make your holiday dishes and your holiday meals maybe a little bit more nutrient dense, or maybe a little bit, more well-rounded. There's nothing wrong with that. Swapping things like Greek yogurt for sour cream, or olive oils for butters, those are awesome swaps. That being said, those kind of swaps don't work for everything. So if you're, trying to over healthify your traditional, your great grandmother's traditional, whatever recipe, kind of asking yourself, like, does this make sense for this recipe? And does this make sense for, this food and like the tradition and the memories and how I actually want this food to taste? Or am I trying to make this healthy because I think that this food is inherently bad? And again, like you said, there's some stuff to unpack there, but I was doing a cooking demo the other night, and I was doing a pasta dish that had some butter in the sauce. And somebody asked me, well, why are you using butter? That's not healthy. And my response was, this dish would not make sense without butter. Yes, I could make this with olive oil, but we would not get that creamy sauce that this dish is known for, right? So in this case, we kind of approach this as, all right, I'm not eating this dish every single day or every single meal, and me eating it and enjoying the heck out of this delicious food right now is perfectly fine, So it's really looking at that big picture.
Well, and you even said if they're saying butter isn't healthy, then that's a label that they're putting on. So
exactly,
butter is never going to be healthy, and that's not the right way to look at it, because then that's going to cause the guilt and shame that we don't want.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a spiral, as you're seeing.
Yeah. So I know that there's a lot that we're talking about here, and so what's going to happen after the holidays, right? This is all coming right in the middle of the holidays, and so sometimes people aren't going to make great decisions. They're going to overeat, they're going to feel bad, and then they want to get back to healthy eating. They want to get back to healthy activity. And so what's your advice on getting back to good healthy habits after you've maybe made some bad decisions over the holidays?
Yeah, well, I would definitely say let's rewind a little bit to what you can do over the holidays to not feel like you have to get back to that, back on track or whatever.
Sure.
I work on this a lot with people, and this is that idea of like all or nothing thinking. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going hard over the holidays. I'm not going to eat a single vegetable, and like I'll deal with the consequences come January 1. That's very all or nothing thinking. And that is going to set you up for a lot of frustration and a lot of guilt and shame come January 1 when you're kicking your booty in the gym because you didn't eat any vegetables over the holiday season. That's just one example. But so instead of having that thought of, okay, I'll just get back to it in the new year, or I'll get back to it after the holidays, try thinking of ways that you can sprinkle that goodness into the holidays, and always thinking about like, how can I make this meal a little bit better? How can I make this day a little bit better? So for example, like I keep saying, like, you haven't eaten a vegetable all holiday season. Like, okay, so if your goal is to not, totally crash and burn over the holidays and then have to start completely fresh come January 1, maybe what are some ways that you can incorporate more fruits and vegetables into your holiday season? What are ways that you can incorporate things like movement and exercise throughout your holiday season so that you're not starting from scratch come January? You already have at least a little bit of a base, even if it's not like your routine baseline.
Yeah. And I feel like the overall theme here is finding that balance, right? It is so important to just have a little bit of movement or a little bit of healthy eating, and then you're balancing out the thoughts that you have about all of it, and really obviously the nutrient side of things or the healthy activity side of things. If you are able to incorporate some of that into your routine, then you're going to feel like you're in a much better place. And then even so, the impact there is going to compound itself because you then feel like you're in a better place. And so you're already ahead of where you would have been right after Thanksgiving or right after the new year, when you're like, now I'm worse off than I was before. Now I'm worse off than I was last January.
Yes. Yeah. No, you summarized that perfectly. That's exactly it. It really is finding that balance and not letting yourself get into that, like, screw it, I'm just going to go like all the way over here. And I really like, I'll get all the way over here come New Year, but it's finding that balance right in the middle of, enjoying life and enjoying food and still making decisions that are going to benefit you in the long run. So one thing that I will tell people is like, is what you're doing right now, would this make future you happy? So like,
sure,
current me right now, current me wants to eat that entire pie in front of me and not eat any fruits or vegetables today. But would Kate on January 2nd be very happy with Kate of, Thanksgiving? No, she wouldn't. So what can I do right now that will set me up to feel better in the future? So kind of that future forward thinking can be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So the whole mental health for the holidays event series, we've covered a few different topics. So this is a little bit off brand for Kate Peterson Nutrition, but I would love to get some of your thoughts. We talked about on day one, we talked about loneliness and how that's something that a lot of people struggle with over the holidays. So what are some of your experiences, and how do you work around the loneliness that you might experience in the holidays?
Trying not to sit with that myself is really important, and really like calling people that make me feel good and getting together with people that make me feel good. I know that things are very different still this holiday season, and sometimes people can't be together, or you don't have family to get with to be together, but finding what that community and that connection like means to you, and really leaning into those people or those, you know, community settings or those places that you can go that give you that connection that maybe you don't have from your family, or you can't have from your family this year. You know, last year was the first Thanksgiving that I spent not with my family because of COVID,
Right.
and it was really hard. You know, my parents live 2 hours away, my brother's an hour away. It was weird, and it was kind of lonely. But I like surrounded myself that day with things that made me happy. You know, I went and got my favorite coffee that morning. I went for a long walk or a long hike that day and just like got out in nature and got fresh air. And then I like made a really nice dinner for myself that night and just like really treated me and did things that made me happy. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And obviously you touched on the COVID situation, which is still a thing. And so now the holiday probably looks a little bit better for a lot of people, but then there's some anxiety. The holidays have anxiety around them anyway, that goes with loneliness probably, but now there's potentially an added layer of, I haven't seen these people in maybe 2 years. The getting back to holiday life could cause some anxiety. So what do you have a similar sort of formula for combating anxiety?
Yeah, you know, my loneliness and anxiety, I guess coping mechanisms are very similar. It's typically like calling a friend or a family member and just talking, or FaceTiming is awesome. You know, Zoom, obviously not the same as being in person, but at least you get to see each other, and that helps a little bit. You know, for me, getting outside and getting like fresh air and like not being stuck in my house makes me feel really good. I think it's really easy to feel lonely in like your four walls when you're not seeing anyone. And at least if you go out and walk, you can like wave to your neighbors and say hi to the mailman or whatever. So those are big ones. And then, you know, for me, something that makes me very happy, like I mentioned, is cooking for myself and making really nice meals. So just really leaning into those things that like make me feel really good and kind of give me some purpose to my day. So those are big ones for me.
Sure. Man, I feel like that's such an important thing too, is obviously you know that about yourself, but for a lot of people, the idea of food creating happiness is, you know, it could be dangerous, but if you know that you can make a good meal for yourself, or a good pie, or whatever it is, then that's going to bring happiness for you, then that's a really great tool to have in support of your mental health, for sure.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, finding those things that just innately make you happy, those are really important to listen to and to do, you know, and take care of you and actually do those things. Yeah.
Yes. But on the other side of the coin, of course, we have lots of family conflict and things like that over the holidays that often pops up. So what are your brilliant tips to avoid family conflict, or appropriately deal with family conflict, let's say, because avoiding isn't always the best?
Yeah. You know, I think it's kind of pick your battles with your family members, right? Like I typically think there's like two schools of thought here. Well, I guess there's three schools, but there's two techniques that I usually do. It's either, you know, when families are making comments or being nosy or whatever it is, like typically I'll either try to like change the subject and just like, you know, avoid the conversation, move it to something that I'm more comfortable talking to avoid that conflict. Or I will like stand up for myself and just kind of, I have like a couple phrases that I'll use with people that just help just like, you know, shut conversations down, or just kind of make it very obvious, like respectfully, I'm not going to talk about that, you know, and just kind of shutting that down before that conversation can progress. But yeah, family can be really, really tricky and stressful.
Yes, to say the least. They can. And I feel like it's so easy to overlook. You can tell them that you don't want to talk about politics over the holidays, or you can tell them that respectfully you disagree, and that can be okay as long as you don't, if you're not a jerk about it, and then things escalate into people throwing knives, then that's a bad situation. But it doesn't have to escalate to that level. And it can be just a healthy, relatively healthy thing where you just say, hey, look, I don't want to talk about that right now. Let's enjoy each other's company, or enjoy this turkey,
Yeah. Yeah. And, I know family is very different than friends, but it sort of isn't in the same way. And like, I have people in my life that were friends or are still friends that like, I just choose not to see or not to hang out with at certain times of the year or certain holidays or things like that, because I know that they are very triggering to me, and I sort of like physically put that distance between us, and like, I can't see you right now because I know that it's not going to be good for my mental health. And so sometimes even just like avoiding that situation altogether can be helpful too. Not always totally doable, but
not the easiest for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But worth it to prioritize your mental health over, maybe a relationship that isn't worth saving.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. At the end of the day, your mental health that is all that you have. And that is so important to take care of you,
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
Well, I think that this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate you jumping on and doing this and sharing all your tips for the holiday season. So just to kind of wrap up here, what are the 3 biggest takeaways that you want our audience to get out of this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think number 1 is listen to your body. Your body tells you a lot of things, whether it's this person makes me uncomfortable to I love this pumpkin pie, it's delicious. And really being aware of those messages that your body is sending you, some of them subtle, some of them not so subtle, is really important and can help with a lot of these situations that we're navigating through the holidays. Number 2, I would say, do not let yourself feel that guilt or shame around food. At the end of the day, it is food, and it does not deserve the right to make you feel like less of a person, right? So try not to feel that guilt and shame around that food. And then number 3 would be just eat the dang pie, eat the mashed potatoes, drink all the drinks, eat all the treats, obviously while listening to your body. But the holidays truly are such a special time. And there are certain foods and traditions that we truly only see once or twice a year. So missing out on those because you're feeling guilty or you're afraid of, eating unhealthy or things like that, to me are just not worth it. So really leaning in and, enjoying the holidays. Definitely.
Yeah, I love that. When you said you love the pumpkin pie, I think you meant apple pie, because obviously that's the best pie. So
I would agree. I'm actually not a big pie fan. I'm kind of like snooty about desserts. Like if it's not chocolate, I really don't want it. But I don't mind apple pie.
I'm not a big pie person. If there's ice cream with it, then I'm on board, probably.
Yeah,
but
give me the ice cream. You can keep the pie. Just give me cake. Please just give me cake and ice cream instead of pie.
Yeah. Awesome.
So,
well,
yeah.
Kate, I really appreciate your time. I think that this has been super helpful. And so I would very much encourage anybody who is watching, take advantage of Kate. If you are struggling with any of this stuff, reach out to her.
Yes,
I will
please
share
do.
her social handles and email, and definitely not her personal anything. Like we'll just give you the basic stuff. Not her mother's maiden name and social security number or anything like that.
Yeah.
But the help is there. So that's the most important thing that we want you to take away here is if you're struggling with some of this stuff and you feel like you need the support to get through the holiday season, then be strong enough to ask, be vulnerable enough to have that opportunity for strength to reach out for help, because people are there. I will help in any way that I can, for sure. If you want to reach out to me, and I can either connect you to Kate or give you the tools to help you be successful through the holidays and beyond. So
thank you for bringing that up. Like my inbox is always open to questions, comments, anything like that. And I will help in any way that I can. You don't have to be like a paying client of mine. That is, I feel very strongly about that. So do not hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or want some advice on stuff.
Yeah, so this kind of wraps up the mental health for the holiday virtual series. So we've got lots of great links and resources and videos for everyone. So please use the guidebook or anything that you need that you found helpful. And of course, then share this too. If there's somebody else that you know that you think could use it, then send it their way. Because like I said, the holiday is a wonderful, magical time, but it comes with some baggage as well. So let's help everybody get through this together.
Right. Cool. Thanks, Luke. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Take care, Kate.